And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Get ready with your calls at 888 Car Clinic, and I'll help you solve your car problems. More than 200,000 vehicles have rolled through our shop, and I'll bet I can help you repair or perhaps keep your car in your garage versus the repair garage. Folks, everyone knows how rideshare is booming. On the hotline with me is Harry Campbell, a.k.a. the Rideshare Guy, to talk about ride sharing, not from a passenger viewpoint, but from a driver's. Harry, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Bobby, it's a pleasure to be back again, and thanks for having me.
Let's kick it right off. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers a little bit about your background, going from engineer to professional rideshare driver, blogger, podcaster, and author.
Yeah, I've added a couple, bylines to my bio since we last chatted. But yeah, going back, I actually started driving for Uber and Lyft back in 2014. And around that time, I started blogging about my experience, started a podcast, a YouTube channel, and now we've got a course and a new book out for drivers called The Rideshare Guide. And so really just kind of trying to create content for anyone and everyone that wants to get signed up, that wants to get started with any of these services. And, we help with everything from making more money to figuring out taxes and insurance. And, with the holidays, the nice thing about the holidays, there are a lot of supplemental income seekers, right? I know Lyft just did a survey, and actually rideshare driving topped the list for everyone who is looking for a part-time job because it is so flexible when it comes to scheduling, and you can even cash out your pay instantly now. So they've added some cool features that you can take advantage of.
Well, so Harry, with driver demand soaring in December, the holiday season presents a unique opportunity for anyone that's looking for some extra cash as a rideshare driver with, as you said, companies like Lyft and Uber to enter the gig economy. So share with our Car Clinic listeners and give some advice to our folks who maybe want to enter the rideshare economy, but on a temporary basis.
For sure. Well, that's the nicest part, I think, about being a rideshare driver is that you can really work as much or as little as you want. So I'm going to assume that most of the people in your audience have a car. So right there, they meet the number one eligibility requirement. You do need a vehicle to drive. But the companies do have programs. Even if you don't have a car, you can actually, Lyft has a program called Express Drive where you can actually rent a vehicle from them on a weekly basis. But for the most part, you do need an eligible vehicle. You need to pass a background check. And in kind of a best case scenario, you can actually get signed up and driving in a couple days. So let's say right now you're listening and you wanted to drive on New Year's Eve, which is actually Lyft's busiest night of the year. Mm-hmm. And that's when earnings potential is at its highest, and you're going to be very busy the whole night. You could actually still sign up and get started and go drive New Year's Eve, make some money and cash it out and, pay for all those Christmas presents that you bought for your friends and family.
So all great points, Harry. And you mentioned the vehicle. So from a vehicle standpoint, does it matter what you drive? I mean, can someone with say a compact car earn as much as someone with an SUV?
Yeah, definitely. So for the most part, so for example, if you look at the basic level, that would be Uber X or Lyft. That's where a majority of the rides, when people talk about rideshare, that's typically what they're referring to. And any four-door car, for the most part, qualifies for that, that it does have to meet specific age requirements, so it can't be too old, but they are pretty generous there. And so you can't have a two-door car, but what drivers should really think about is that, the best cars for rideshare driving, believe it or not, Bobby, you actually put a lot of miles on your car as a rideshare driver driving people around. And so typically the better gas mileage you get, there's a reason why there's so many Toyota Priuses out there for, rideshare drivers. It's because it gets such good gas mileage. But you don't have to have a Prius, to be a successful driver. You can also go out there with, a four-door sedan that gets good gas mileage. And, a lot of drivers do have smaller compact cars because they get good gas mileage. So that's something to consider for sure.
We're talking with Harry Campbell, the Rideshare Guy. So, Harry, I want to, before we leave the car topic, when I take an Uber, I do definitely, as a ride person, I do definitely look at the condition of the car. I look at sort of the message the car sends to me. You mentioned a Prius. So when I see someone that says that perhaps they have an SUV, an EV, it would make me feel more comfortable that person prioritizes his or her ride so that when you're using their services, you feel more secure. That's just my personal opinion. Does that play into the game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think honestly, what ends up happening is a lot of drivers get into this, and they're not used to providing customer service. They're not used to transporting people for hire, and you can actually do some small steps just to stand out from a majority of other drivers. It's not even necessarily, getting a car wash and kind of keeping, spending a ton of money. I mean, even simple things like shaking out your floor mats, dusting your car off, kind of doing a quick scan after every passenger gets out to see if any trash was left on the floor or anything like that. There's sort of little actions that you can take here and there just in your downtime, and you'll stand out from probably 90% of rideshare drivers out there. And those are really the types of tips that I try to help drivers with on my site and in my book.
Okay, let's talk the bottom line, money. How easy is it to cash out the earnings?
Well, that's one of the cool things, and I really love sharing this info because most people don't realize. I think some of your listeners probably know, okay, Uber and Lyft, you can set your own schedule, and that's great. You can flip the app on and off whenever you want. So if you only wanted to drive around the holidays for Lyft, you could do just that, and then you could not drive until next Christmas or next New Year's Eve, and you have that schedule flexibility. But like I mentioned, Lyft has a feature now called Express Pay, and what this does is you can go out and drive. You could do 1 ride, you could do 10 rides, you could do 100 rides, and at the end of your shift or at the end of your day, you can actually cash that money out instantly to your debit card, and the money appears within 20 or 30 minutes. So for example, sometimes, especially around the holidays, right, if I'm going to go do some Christmas shopping the night before, I'll go out and drive for Lyft, I'll cash my money out, and then I've got, $50 or $100 to apply to my presents the next day. So there's definitely some cool flexibility, not only in scheduling, but also with payments too.
Okay, let's talk about Harry Campbell, the rideshare guy. Engineer, let's say engineer on the left side. On the left, in this corner,
Yeah.
we have the engineer. And then now, rideshare driver and blogger, podcaster, and author. I mean, what are you going to be when you grow up, Harry?
Well, I think, it's definitely, I've had a interesting career path. And, so I was an engineer full time, like you said, and I ended up about 3 years ago, I actually quit my day job as an engineer to focus on the blog and building my media business full time. And so I think that really what I've found over time is that I really enjoy creating content for drivers and really helping everyone kind of navigate this world because, like I said, I think that, driving rideshares and specifically, around the holidays is probably one of the best kind of part-time jobs you can get out there. And I think that almost everyone should be driving just because you have that ability, right? If you ever, there are times actually where I'll just go out on my way to a lunch meeting and Lyft has a feature called destination filter, and I'll actually turn the destination filter on. And now I only get rides headed in the direction that I'm going. So I might pick up a passenger or two on my way to a meeting, a lunch meeting, and then now I can, I have 10 or 20 bucks off my lunch. So I think definitely kind of getting that message out there and just really trying to help people navigate this world. That's my goal, and that's probably what I'll be working on going in the future.
Well, definitely a lot of great advice. And just closing, one last question. What's the best tip you can provide to a new rideshare driver?
So I would say for a new rideshare driver, take a ride as a passenger. So, I know that a lot of people, they've heard of rideshare, they've heard of driving, but you can actually, when you go and take a ride as a passenger, you can talk to your driver, you can ask them about it, you get sort of real firsthand experience, you'll see how the app works, and, you can kind of really see, if you're riding constantly as a passenger, you see what other drivers are doing a good job of, and also what they're not doing such a good job of. And, Lyft actually, they had a stat that last December, Lyft passengers tipped out over $30 million to drivers, and I suspect this year that number will only go up. And that's one of the nice things about driving for rideshare and Lyft specifically is that passengers tend to be generous around the holidays with tips. And so if you're standing out from other drivers, you can actually really make some good money on tips on top of all your earnings from doing the rides.
Well, great information. Very interesting, very topical. It's a gig that a lot of you folks want to get into. If you do, for more information about Harry Campbell and information that you can use in your gig, Harry, share with us a website.
Yeah, definitely. So you can check out therideshareguide.com. That's my blog where we've got a ton of info about driving and all these other services. And then my new book, which is probably also a good Christmas present, The Rideshare Guide, everything you need to know about driving for Lyft, Uber, and other ride-sharing companies. So I'm all over the place. And Bobby, when you're ready to sign up to be a rideshare driver, you let me know. I'll give you a free personal coaching session.
I don't know that I could fit very many people into my Viper, so I may have to change and go with a four-door sedan. Harry, it was great to have you on the air. And happy holidays. Harry Campbell, the rideshare guy. Harry, thanks again. Great advice and the best of luck to you.
Thanks, Bobby.